You know what? I'm sick and tired of WWE protecting Drew McIntyre. This man just ended Jacob Fatu's career, possibly permanently, and Triple H is sitting backstage doing nothing. Jacob Fatu, one of the most dominant forces we've seen in years, is now in a hospital bed undergoing emergency surgery because WWE allowed Drew McIntyre to turn SmackDown into his personal torture chamber. And before you Drew McIntyre fanboys flood my comments defending this psychopath, ask yourself this: would you be okay if someone Claymore kicked your spine into the steel steps 5 times? The Samoan werewolf might never wrestle again, and I'm about to expose exactly why WWE's negligence and Drew McIntyre's uncontrolled rage have created the most dangerous situation in professional wrestling today. If you're not furious by the end of this video, then you're part of the problem. Hit that like button if you think Drew McIntyre has gone too far, and drop a comment right now telling me if Jacob Fatu will ever return to the ring. Let's rewind to Friday Night SmackDown, because what we witnessed wasn't wrestling, it was attempted murder on live television. Jacob Fatu came to the ring to address his future in the bloodline, and Drew McIntyre blindsided him like the coward he's become. But here's what's making my blood boil: this wasn't a wrestling move gone wrong. This wasn't an accident. Drew McIntyre calculated every single strike. The Scottish Warrior hit Fatu with a Claymore kick that sent him crashing into the ring post. Already brutal, right? But Drew wasn't finished. He dragged Jacob's lifeless body outside the ring, positioned his leg against the steel steps, and then, with a sadistic smile on his face, he stomped down on Fatu's knee with such force that you could hear the crack echo through the arena. Medical staff rushed to the scene, but Drew McIntyre shoved them away and delivered another Claymore kick to Fatu's head while he was defenseless on the ground. The crowd went silent. Not the good kind of silent where everyone's in awe. This was the horrified silence when you realize you just watched something that crossed every line in professional wrestling. WWE officials finally pulled Drew away, but the damage was done. Jacob Fatu wasn't moving. His leg was bent at an unnatural angle, and blood was pouring from a gash above his eye. Quick question for you guys: was Drew McIntyre justified because of what the bloodline did to him, or has he become the very monster he claimed to fight against? Drop your answer in the comments because this debate is heated in the wrestling community right now. Here's where this story gets even more disturbing. According to reports from WWE medical staff who were backstage that night, Jacob Fatu was immediately taken to a local trauma center in Tampa. The initial diagnosis: a shattered patella, torn MCL, torn ACL, and a severe concussion. But wait, it gets worse. During a CT scan, doctors discovered internal bleeding and had to perform emergency surgery to repair damage to his spleen that occurred when Drew McIntyre threw him into the ring barricade multiple times. Let me paint you a picture of what Jacob Fatu is going through right now. He's undergone not one, but 2 major surgeries in the past 72 hours. The first surgery was to repair his knee, which required doctors to literally reconstruct his kneecap using surgical pins and screws. The second surgery addressed the internal bleeding. This man is fighting for his career and possibly his ability to walk normally again. Sources close to the Fatu family revealed that Jacob's wife hasn't left his bedside since the attack. His children don't understand why their father can't come home. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and the entire bloodline have been at the hospital, and let me tell you something: the tension is building to an explosive level. Roman Reigns posted on social media, "Drew McIntyre just made the biggest mistake of his life. The tribal chief doesn't forget, and the bloodline doesn't forgive." The wrestling world is holding its breath, waiting to see if Jacob Fatu will ever step foot in a WWE ring again. Doctors are saying it's going to be a minimum of 9 to 12 months before he can even begin physical therapy, and that's only if the surgeries were completely successful. His wrestling career hanging by a thread, and it's all because WWE management failed to control Drew McIntyre's rampage. Now, I need to address the elephant in the room: Drew McIntyre's complete mental breakdown. This is a man who was once the hero of WWE, the babyface champion who overcame every obstacle. But somewhere along the way, Drew lost himself. His obsession with destroying the bloodline has transformed him into something unrecognizable, something dangerous. Let's be real for a second. Yes, the bloodline attacked Drew multiple times. Yes, they cost him championships and embarrassed him on international television. I get it, but when does retaliation become terrorism? When does justice become sadistic revenge? Drew McIntyre crossed that line on SmackDown, and he didn't just cross it, he obliterated it. What's terrifying is Drew's complete lack of remorse. In a backstage interview immediately after the attack, when asked about Jacob Fatu's condition, Drew smiled. He actually smiled and said, "I told everyone that I would dismantle the bloodline one by one. Jacob Fatu was just the beginning. If they thought I was dangerous before, they haven't seen anything yet." That's not the talk of a wrestler seeking redemption. That's the talk of someone who's completely lost touch with reality. Drew McIntyre has become so consumed by hatred that he's willing to end careers, destroy families, and create an environment where no wrestler is safe. And here's the kicker, WWE is letting it happen. Triple H hasn't suspended Drew. There's been no fine, no punishment, nothing. Here's my question for all of you. Should Drew McIntyre be fired from WWE for what he did to Jacob Fatu, or should WWE allow this to play out? I want to hear your honest opinions in the comments, and don't hold back. If you think the bloodline is going to let this slide, you clearly don't understand Samoan warrior culture. Roman Reigns held a private meeting with Solo Psycho, Tamar Tonga, and Tonga Loa, and according to sources who were in that room, Roman's message was crystal clear: Drew McIntyre touched family. He's going to answer to the entire bloodline, and when we're done with him, there won't be anything left. Solo Psycho, Jacob Fatu's cousin and closest friend in the business, has been particularly vocal. He cut a promo on social media that sent chills down my spine. "Drew, you think you're a warrior? You think attacking my cousin from behind makes you tough? You're not a warrior. You're a coward with a death wish. Jacob Fatu will recover, but you're going to wish you never stepped foot in a WWE ring when the bloodline catches up to you." The WWE universe is split right down the middle. Half are supporting Drew McIntyre, saying he's finally giving the bloodline a taste of their own medicine. The other half is demanding that WWE take action and protect their superstars from Drew's uncontrolled violence. But here's what nobody's talking about: what happens when Jacob Fatu recovers and wants his revenge? Imagine this scenario: Jacob Fatu spends the next year rehabilitating, getting stronger, more dangerous, more motivated. He comes back at WrestleMania or SummerSlam, and he has one target in his sights: Drew McIntyre. The match wouldn't just be for a championship or pride. It would be personal, brutal, and potentially career-ending for one of these superstars. The anticipation alone is enough to make this the biggest storyline in wrestling. Let me shift gears here and talk about something that's been bothering me: WWE's responsibility in all of this. Look, we all know that professional wrestling involves predetermined outcomes and storylines, but the physicality is real. The injuries are real. The pain these athletes endure is real. So when WWE allows a situation to escalate to the point where someone like Jacob Fatu ends up in emergency surgery, we need to have a serious conversation about performer safety. Triple H and the creative team have pushed the envelope with this Drew McIntyre vs. Bloodline feud, and I respect that they are trying to create compelling television. But at what cost? Jacob Fatu has a family. He has children who depend on him. His entire livelihood is based on his ability to perform in that ring. One reckless decision, one moment where management didn't step in fast enough, and now his entire future is uncertain. This isn't just about Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre anymore. This is about setting a precedent for how WWE handles these intense rivalries going forward. If there are no consequences for Drew's actions, what message does that send to other superstars? That you can cross every line, injure your opponents, and face zero repercussions as long as it creates buzz on social media? The wrestling industry has evolved significantly over the past 2 decades. We've learned about CTE, chronic injuries, and the long-term effects of this business on performers' bodies and minds. WWE has implemented wellness policies, concussion protocols, and safety measures. But none of that matters if management allows personal feuds to escalate into real-life medical emergencies. I need you guys to weigh in on this. Do you think WWE should implement stricter rules about physical contact outside of sanctioned matches, or does that take away from the realism and intensity that makes wrestling great? This is a tough question, and I genuinely want to hear your perspectives. Let me end this video by talking about Jacob Fatu himself, because in all this chaos and controversy, we can't forget that we're talking about one of the most talented wrestlers of this generation. Before this attack, Jacob Fatu was on an unprecedented run. He was undefeated 4 months, destroying everyone in his path, and establishing himself as the most dangerous member of the bloodline. Jacob Fatu brought a level of intensity and authenticity to WWE that we haven't seen in years. His Samoan heritage, combined with his incredible athleticism and hard-hitting style, made him must-see TV every single week. Fans were already speculating about a future Universal Championship run, potential matches against top stars like Gunther, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins. All of that is now in jeopardy because of Drew McIntyre's actions. But here's what I believe: Jacob Fatu is a fighter. He comes from a legendary wrestling family that has overcome adversity time and time again. The Samoan dynasty doesn't produce quitters. If anyone can come back from these devastating injuries and reclaim his spot at the top of WWE, it's Jacob Fatu. The question isn't if he'll return, it's when, and more importantly, what version of Jacob Fatu will we see when he makes his comeback? The wrestling world is praying for Jacob Fatu's recovery, and we're all watching closely to see how WWE handles this situation with Drew McIntyre. This story is far from over, and when Jacob Fatu returns, you better believe Wrestling Zone 1 will be here to cover every single moment. Drop a comment right now with your prayers and support for Jacob Fatu. Smash that like button if you want to see Drew McIntyre face consequences, and subscribe because this feud is about to reach levels we've never seen before. The Bloodline versus Drew McIntyre is going to define the next era of WWE, and you don't want to miss a single second of it.